Sports fans, how long will it take for Bryan Harsin, head coach at Auburn University, to eventually no longer be the head coach? How many days will it take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you tell me whether it's a week or less than a week? Can you tell me what number you come up with? Make sure you put that in the comments. Once again, welcome. Coach One Sports with yours truly, Coach Kevin Bull Jones. And I got my friend here again with me, the man, the myth, the legend, Jonathan Lewis, Mr. Analytical. You get it, he got it. Okay, but we talking. So, hey, Coach One Sports, we're here to talk about a coaching situation. We're talking about Bryan Harsin, the head coach, Auburn University. Thank you for coming on the show, JL. Let's get into it, brother.
Yeah, no problem. If you guys don't know already, CFB with John on YouTube at College FB Lewis, as you can see below. Yeah, Bryan Harsin, this is I wouldn't say this is trending anymore. I would say this has Twitter basically on fire at this point. And it's not just Twitter at this point, Facebook and everything else. And I'm not sure, but I do know if the tumors trees were still standing at in the plains, they'd probably be burning down as well right now if they were still there. So yeah, I'll let you lead off with where you want to start, or I can. It's completely
Well,
up to you.
well, you know, my ears are burning, my lips are burning, and no, I didn't eat any hot chicken wings tonight. Okay, let's get the butter from the duck real quick. Coach Harsin, 6-7 season, first year as head coach, came from Boise State. Very successful coach, won over 64, 63, 64 ball games. So let's give him that. Okay, so I want to talk about it from, for me, from the coaching standpoint. He is a very good coach. He's done fantastic jobs everywhere he's been. Only piece of the South, deep South, he really got a piece of was really when he was at Arkansas State for 1 year as the head coach. But he had over 10 years. He had 10 years as an assistant coach, and he really did do a great job of helping to maintain Boise State football being on a national prominence. I got to give him that. As a coach, very detailed, very oriented, and it looks good from the structure that he's been able to do. Now, here's where things change at. You know, uh, he came to Auburn University, War Eagle, you name it. I mean, the Deep South. As a coach, I look at his staff. My first red flag is why they're a coach who's not is from the Midwest coming to the Deep South.
Yep.
Sports fans, I've had players that I've sent to schools in the Midwest and sent some kids to JUCOs as well as Division One programs. And for whatever reason, there's been some times where it's just a different way of thought process and maybe a little more close to the vest in the Midwest and just the flavor and the flash and the flair and what you have in the Deep South it's not part of that. So I'm saying to myself, because I had some kids that were great players, but when they had problems with the coaches just didn't like them. When I called the head coach, I said, well, I see my players having a problem. Coach, is there anything I can do? What's the problem? Well, coach, I just don't like his flair. I don't like his bravado. When he makes a play, he's got to put on a performance or the show. I said, well, coach, do you understand where my kid came from? Do you understand he's the first kid in his family to ever go to college? Do you understand that if he wasn't doing this, he would probably be doing some things he shouldn't be doing wrong? That's just one example. But sports fans, I talk about that because I don't think that Coach Harsin was the right fit for the Auburn culture. How is he going to go into a room in Atlanta, Georgia, Miami, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and recruit? How are you going to walk in and talk? You got to talk to the coaches first. So I had a problem with it, Jonathan, from day one, that he just wasn't the right guy for Auburn football. And I think Auburn football deserved a guy that was closer to Southern roots all the way through than what they got.
So, you got a lot on the plate already for me. The first thing I'll say, 6 and 7 his first year. Uh, I'll say this to play devil's advocate a little bit because I'm trying to be fair and impartial to both sides until the facts come out about Bryan Harsin. But at the same time, I got to speak on a real level here, right?
Okay.
Let's be real on this point. The Auburn administration, boosters, and everybody else, they're not easy people to deal with. We already know that. They have a track record of not being easy to work with already in the first place. You add that into the fact that the big ones, Charles Barkley and others, never signed off on Bryan Harsin coming over.
Ooh.
They didn't want him there. That was made public. So you add that on top of Auburn just saying, we don't care. We're still going to bring him in to be our guy. Like you said, not the correct fit. And I agree with you 1000% because Bryan Harsin never even made the attempt to come into the Deep South to recruit, really. If you go back and look at the track record of recruits, he didn't mess with it. Now, that was my justification of maybe Brian Kelly being successful at LSU because he did come down into Louisiana territory, into Georgia territory to
Yes.
try to recruit. Notre Dame wouldn't give him the funding to do it more often, and he left. Right? So he made the attempt and then left Notre Dame for not being able to do it. Whereas Bryan Harsin didn't, he never recruited the South. They
Right.
bring this guy in, like you said, Midwest type guy. And I get it. Everybody's going to say, well, Nick Saban, he wasn't from the South, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's not go there because you're talking about the greatest
Yeah,
head
let's
coach of
not
all
compare
time.
those two.
Right. Exactly. So it's completely unfair. And I get it. You can talk about Gus Malzahn and so many other people. But when you look at Bryan Harsin as a whole, I liked him as a coach because he did come up through the ranks, in my opinion, the right way, right? You
Correct.
started at the bottom, you worked your way up as 10 years as an assistant. You know what I mean? You didn't get the big time head job right away like Kirby Smart did, even though he did do his time 9 years at Alabama. But when you look at that, and now you're justifying what's going on here. But here's another thing that nobody wants to talk about because they don't look it up. But Bryan Harsin had a track record at Boise of not getting along with people at Boise. All you have to do is look it up.
Wow.
So when you look up the fact that the Auburn administration didn't want, or not administration, sorry, the boosters, the people paying out, all of them didn't want you there already. You came over from a place where you were already not getting along with the administration over there. You're not the right fit. You're not the style of coach that probably should be at Auburn. Because a lot of people call Clemson Auburn with a big lake. You know what I mean? So Auburn is,
Right.
I mean, it's the reality of the situation, right? I'm an Alabama fan. A lot of people say, it's Alabama's little brother, whatever you want to call it. Me, I think Auburn has more value than what people put to the program itself. If you bring in the right people with Auburn and the administration gets on the right page, I think you have a lot going there. But here's the facts that work against Bryan Harsin as well. Sorry, I know I'm putting a lot of information in here. You're facing LSU, you're facing Alabama, you're facing Georgia, you're facing Texas A&M every single year, and you're going to bring in somebody that doesn't fit your system and works against your own administration. It didn't make sense from the very beginning. I don't understand how this is a surprise to anybody out there, why this is not working out. So I'll leave it at that, let you respond to that before I get into, the exodus of players and coaches.
There's three red flags that come up for me. Okay, as a coach, I got 3 red flags, and keep in mind, I've had players sign with Auburn University. Okay, very good football players.
Yeah.
And I've had wonderful relationships with coaches. I don't want to spend the time talking about all the great coaches that have come out of Auburn University, but there have been plenty, and some of them are still in the SEC coaching at various places. Some of those, and there are some good coaches that are on the staff that are still there. But here are the red flags. You've got 20 players that have left the university.
Yep.
20. Okay, that's an astronomical number. 20 players just flat out leaving, and grumblings. And of course, Tank was the big running back. Big Fuse was about to leave too, but they made sure that he smiled a little better. I wasn't going to say it, but but those things, them NILs are some beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but you have 5 coaches that are leaving the program. Usually, 5 coaches leave off of staff when there has been a successful season and everybody's getting pulled on because of your successful season. Now, there are instances, and when you don't have a successful season, then 5 coaches leave because you better jump ship before you get
Yep.
fired anyway. Okay. So, hello, Georgia Tech. But anyway, I'll come back to that on another show.
Oh my
But
gosh.
but that's what you're dealing with. 5 coaches remain. Of those 5 coaches, 6 coaches that remain as of today now. Okay, we just don't know where that's going to go. Will Friend, Zach Etheridge do have Southeast ties. Will Friend, of course, was at Georgia. A very good offensive line coach. I think he's, people want to use the phrase, some of the best around. Well, he's proven he's worth all his money, worth his weight. Very good coach and a great recruiter. And I think the world of him. His work speaks for itself. But he does have deep South ties. He did go out to Colorado State with Mike Bobo when Bobo was the head coach out there. But Friend recruited this area with tenacity. Zach Etheridge, who doesn't have as much time, but he's been at Western Carolina, some other places, but he's been around the areas of the Deep South. Okay. Now, with those 2 guys still there in place, the next 3 guys I'm going to read off are from connected to Boise State. Jeff Smeding, the new DC, who was the DC in waiting, basically waiting for Derek Mason to leave, but he came along with Harrison, and I get why he brought him. But there's no relativity to some Deep South recruiting ties. Right. Okay, then you have receiver Eric Keesaw, who once again, Eastern Washington, he's out there in the West. He's still dangling in that Midwest area, so he has no ties to the Deep South. And then you have Brad, the tight ends coach, Brad Betting, Brad Betting, Bedell. I'm sorry, Brad Bedell. Okay, once again, he was at Arkansas State that one year with Coach Harsin, but he. Once again, you're talking about a coach who's also at Boise State. And there's usually you have coaches that travel when you get those jobs because it is about familiarity and a comfort level of people that you want to work with. And to balance it off, you got Cadillac Williams, who is from the Deep South, and he's on the staff still as running back coach. Now, from there's a flag. You hire a new offensive coordinator, he gets the hell out of there. Okay. All right. That's the second flag. And then you have other, Derek Mason takes another job he takes a pay cut.
Yep.
And I mean a big pay cut. And even though he didn't have success as a head coach, he is highly regarded as far as a defensive strategist. And that's just the reality of it. But here's the big one for me. Watch this. The athletic director from the people that I'm talking to and the people that I know that are in those circles, those War Eagle circles, say that the athletic director, Alan Green, personally made that Bryan Harsin his choice. And it was not to the blessings of Bo Jackson, Charles Barkley, and the other faithful War Eagle alum. He was not he did not even he told them, I'm hearing he brought them in the meeting and he told them that that's who his coach was going to be. And he had all carte blanche efforts and responsibilities of delegation of naming that coach and didn't have to, he just told them. He didn't suggest who it should be. He told those people, he brought them in. Now, I don't know. I wish I could get Bo Jackson on the show as well as Charles Barkley. I probably need to go to downtown Atlanta when he's at TNT doing some work and see if he'll, but I know he's not happy either. But watch this. The last thing I want to say. Well, where does the AD come from since this is your hire? Well, The AD spent 4 years in Buffalo, University of Buffalo, okay, working as an AD department. But before that, he also is a Notre Dame graduate, so
I
he's
knew
from that
it.
Midwest deal. Let's
Oh
go.
my
Let's
gosh.
start the party. So what flavor? He's a former baseball player, Major League Baseball. He was drafted. I think I want to say by the Yankees. I might be wrong. So okay, he's got an athletic background, and he was a finance guy, but he wanted to bring a different culture to the president who's no longer there. The president at Auburn is left. Okay, so now what we talking about? Those are the three things that tell me we got it. Nassau, we got a problem. This ship ain't going all the way up the way it's supposed to. And unfortunately, I think this thing is going down within the next week. And there's another part to this that is extremely scary that would make a great soap opera. And I'm going to leave it there. But the folks in Alabama know what I'm talking about.
All right. So I want to elaborate on a couple of things. First of all, if Charles Barkley would ever listen to this, I'm in San Antonio and I've watched where he talked all those Spurs games up, talk about he loves the fat women in San Antonio. So I'm just going to throw that out there real quick. I always remembered watching the Spurs, obviously, in the playoffs, and he's always talking about the fat girls in San Antonio. He likes them.
Why is he always talking about fat? Okay, never mind. Let's
So
go.
we'll leave it at that. Once again, I'm going to retract back to because I want to talk both sides here. Once again, 100% agree. Once again, Charles Barkley, Bo Jackson, the guys not you think actually, the guys you would want the signing off on of bringing these guys over. Because correct me if I'm wrong, people out there, and maybe even coach, when Auburn brings in coaches, when Alabama brings in coaches, when big programs, Ohio State, you know what I mean, Georgia, they hire a coach. Usually, when that presser is done or they're being introduced, those main guys are right there. They're in the screenshot.
Right.
When Bryan Harsin was brought on, I don't remember anybody being there except the AD. He's the only guy I can remember being there. To me, if that was the case, that would have been a red flag probably from the get-go. But once again, I'm going to have to allude back to this because I can't give Auburn too much credit. They're Auburn, right? At the same time, I don't understand why you fired Tommy Tuberville. It's not like you have a track record of making great decisions. Tommy Tuberville had a hell of a coaching career, in my opinion, at Auburn, but because he would lose occasionally to Alabama, I think, honestly, I think he did pretty well against Alabama, but because you lose one bad game against Alabama, that was the breaking point. So, once again, I'm going to keep alluding back to this. The administration, in my opinion, is not already great, right? You're facing four of the top, probably elite programs, blue bloods, when we're talking about, once again, LSU, Alabama, right? Georgia, you know what I mean? Texas A&M, every year. So even if your coach is on the correct path, let's say Bryan Harsin comes in and he's on the correct path, has all these deep root ties, recruiting is going well, it's already hard enough to beat all four of these teams working together. Now, can you imagine how many games this guy's going to win working against the grain? Come on now. Nobody's going to be successful in that situation. I don't care who you are.
Right.
So
now, I'll tell you what I found out, Jonathan, not to cut you off, but I know that a prominent area down here for recruiting, of course, now the signing day is over, all of your all the schools, the big schools are out, even getting commitments as we speak. Prominent area, Gwinnett County, I've already heard, and this is from well, I'm just going to tell you this. Auburn has not been has only gone to one school in Gwinnett County, which has been, we call it the baby SEC down here in the South. Down here in Georgia. And the only school they've gone to is Beaufort, but of course, Beaufort is like the Hoover was or has been of Alabama, state of Alabama. But that's the only school that Auburn has gone to. They have not gone to some of the other schools where they have previously feeded off of big
Yeah.
time Power 5-star, 4-star prospects in that area. It's a hotbed of talent. And I've heard that he hasn't even been there to other schools. He's only been to one school. There's almost like 25 high schools in that county that I'm talking about. Now, with that being said, that's a bad deal. If and for us high school coaches, the word gets around.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, and everybody knows. But the picture, I don't expect him to keep his job this time next week. I don't expect him to still have a job. And I think that the last red flag that I forgot to mention is when the university and not the athletics department is doing the investigation.
Yep.
That's usually about ethics.
Yep.
And if it's going to be about ethics, he'll probably get fired. They don't have to pay him. They don't have to pay him that contract if it's about ethics.
A lot of people, this ain't going to be a popular opinion. There's a reason why Lincoln Riley bolted when he did against Oklahoma. The compliance department was all over that dude. Go look at his track record. So, anyways, once again, all I got to do is look it up. Now, to allude to the coaching here, Mike Bobo leaving, that's a big loss. Derek Mason, though, that was the one that told me there's something really big up here. This guy leaves to Oklahoma State, pay cut. I don't know if that's even a lateral move, in my opinion. I don't know if you would consider that Oklahoma State a lateral move. In my opinion, you're going down a notch, right? But Austin Davis, the new offensive coordinator, comes in for 6 weeks, doesn't get one single practice in, and he just leaves for an FCS job. What?
What does that tell you?
I mean, he's getting the hell out of the ship before it starts going up in flames. That's what it's telling me. He's like, well, he's clearly gone. I'm going to be gone with him if I don't bolt now.
Fire's already lit. Actually, we just waiting for it to get to the other rooms. Yeah.
So in my opinion, this guy doesn't last through the week. Friday, you know what I mean? I say Friday, and he's got to be gone, in my opinion. Like, you can't continue to let this drag out through the offseason knowing that you have 2023 recruiting coming up, knowing you have these big dates coming up for spring game and everything else. You know what I mean? Like,
you got junior day where kids come up now, current juniors, and then the elite prospects, and that's what all the big schools are doing. But from my sources that I'm hearing, it is how do you pay somebody if you fire them? Well, the legalities of it, okay, there's not compliance, it's not athletic department, because the athletic department, the AD, is the one who put him in the position. So that the investigation is starting with the university. So now code of ethics and things that go down that arena that says we can just let you go carte blanche and don't have to pay you. I just think, to me, that's where this thing is going to go. And if you watch his comments, he vehemently denies that he's not going to be able to return. He says he's going to be there. Now, he might know something we don't know, but the folks that's on the Flash can tell you there's some stuff going on out there that would make a really good soap opera, a weekly show, documentary. I don't know what to call it. It's going to come out. I just don't want to, for the sake of, I don't want to bring it out, but it's pretty bad. And some of it has nothing to do with athletics.
So I got a question for you. This is a serious question here. Let's say you're coaching Auburn. You're on vacation on a Mexico beach right now. If you thought you had a legitimate chance to keep your job, wouldn't you fly back to Auburn to start addressing this right away?
Absolutely.
I'm not staying on the beach in Mexico saying I'm not coming back till Thursday when my vacation's over. That tells me he's gone.
And it's that walking tall deal, which he's already had his attorneys, and his attorneys are speaking to the university and their attorneys and their administration, so they can get the buyout part taken care of and make this stuff go away, so that the dirt When you ruffle over that carpet, the
Yeah.
dirt doesn't come out. And sports fans, there's real dirt. I mean, this has nothing to do with football. It's just dirt, and that's where you think the stuff with Ed Orgeron was crazy and LSU. This is better than that.
Oh
And
my
that's not good
gosh.
for Auburn University because Auburn and like I said, the guys that I know that played there, that coached there, uh, it's just amazing that type of program would have to be in the same words with this negative stuff that's going to come out pretty soon.
Now, second question I wanted to make sure to ask you because you're a coach, you're more connected obviously than me as a fan, I mean, obviously. I want your opinion on something I heard from Josh Pate on 247 today. Actually, listened to him on YouTube. So I want to get your take from this. He spoke on if an administration wants him gone, if there's a story, let's say they can just make up a story, him with an assistant, basically make it front page news and he's gone, no questions asked. What do you think about that idea? That I'm not saying Josh Pate said that happened. What I'm saying is that look, there's a possible chance, right, that this stuff goes on. Let's say an administration wants Bryan Harsin out and they want him out quick. Hey, this guy's with an assistant. It doesn't even have to be true, but because the administration said it, they leaked it to somebody, let's just say in the media, and it stuck. What do you think about that?
Well, my grandfather used to always say this phrase, and me and my wife laugh about this phrase because we be in education and kids say
Yeah.
things. Listen, if everybody knows it, it's not a rumor, and
Okay.
if everybody knows it, of course, some folks say where there's smoke, there's fire. But okay, but if everybody knows it, whatever it is, then it's not a rumor.
Yeah.
There are some legs to what's going on. Now, whether it's all pinpointed correctly or not, well, it's all going to come out in the wash, and the cream is going to rise to the top, which means everything that's going on in this dance. Yeah, I mean, if you have media reports of people getting in places where they could be heard in platforms and they're talking about it, well, there's something right about this. It ain't all wrong.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they might be off on a few things, but it's not all off. It's not all. It's not all not online on point. So what do you do? Because we're talking about a major college football program, and yes, he there's reports that he's just not a warm and fuzzy person to deal with. But here's the deal, and this is what I really want to say. That athletic director knew that. The same way you were able to pull up stuff about Bryan Harsin when he was at Boise State and the things that, didn't mesh well or people had a problem with him. Hell, everybody don't like Nick Saban. I mean, he's not warm and fuzzy with everybody. Now, but he has his parts to him that is embracing, but we're talking about the man and not the coach. Well, if you're as a man and people don't like you, well, they knew that back then.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a search, if you don't have a search committee looking for the next Auburn football coach, and it's up to the athletic director, and he's got the big guns, and he pointed them out, and he looked at everybody else and said, "This is who I'm hiring," then he probably overlooked all of that because he's from the Midwest too, and nothing against everybody from the Midwest because I know the comments are gonna come out sideways.
Oh,
the
gosh.
Midwest has its different flavor, but it's okay. It's okay to have it. But when you in the Deep South, you do as the Deep South. And I'm going to leave it at that.
So, not trying to go back to what Josh Pate said earlier, but, I felt like this was a red flag too. And once again, he said, to me, when he said this, Josh Pate said this on 247 Sports, I was like, this is it. He makes a really good point when he said this. When you think of Alabama and who runs that program, who do you think about? It's Nick Saban.
Correct.
Georgia, Kirby Smart's in charge. When you say
right.
Auburn, no one knows. Nobody can point to a guy and say that guy's running the program. Right. That's a major red flag, and I really didn't think about that till he said that.
So if he says that, then what? How do you feel? How do you think the players feel?
That's
because
exactly.
Tank, what's the last name? Bigsby?
Yep.
Bigsby. Bigsby, he almost left.
Yeah.
So it would have been 21 players gone.
Yeah.
But supposedly they were able to talk him to coming back. And who knows? Maybe it wasn't Harsin that talked him back in. According to this, it probably wasn't. But yeah, listen. When people don't listen, I put this out on Twitter the other day, and it was a wonderful phrase I learned at a coaching clinic, and actually it was at the Bama clinic, and I heard this said, and it was the phrase was when you talk about players, they don't care what you know until you show them that you care. Okay, they don't care how much football you know until you show them that you care about them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's some things that the great coaches have. The kids care about them. They care about them at Georgia and Bama and Texas A&M and all those places, Clemson, everywhere. They care about their coach because they know the coach cares about them. So that's not what this guy has. And the baddest part about it is it has to be Auburn University going through this. And they've had their trials and tribulations, the rocky roads, and then rising back up. And it's sad for that program because we're on the tip of the iceberg about what's about to go down.
Yeah, I feel. I mean, I hate to say this, but I do feel bad for Auburn. This is going to set them back. Mm-hmm. Whatever is about to happen, I just have a feeling it's going to set them back years. So
yeah. So then you got to decide who becomes the next coach, and that's for another show at sometime after next week.
That's the big problem. The coaching carousel already happened. That's the big problem. But
I'm hearing a really big name
save it.
Is coming back. We'll and I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, big name is coming back. Yeah.
All right, so that's all I got, Coach.
Well, listen, man, I just wanted to this has been burning for you and for me, and we get a chance to share it with those that subscribe and watch us, and once again, be able to talk, like, and share comments. We read all of you all's comments, so we appreciate everything you say, even though we might not always agree. We appreciate. Listen, we live in a country where you can have an opinion, and that's the coolest part about being here. So in America, you have an opinion, you can give it, and thank you, and for Coach One Sports, we thank you for taking time out with us. And once again, if you enjoyed this show, just make sure that you subscribe and help me build up my wonderful fan base of people that want to hear about sports from a coaching perspective. And Jonathan, you want to go ahead and tell folks where they can reach you, even though we know where they're going to reach you.
On YouTube, as you can see below, CFB or College Football with John. Twitter at College FB Lewis. If you guys ever want to come on and talk football, I got a big guest coming on this Wednesday, Terrence Mount Cody, previous Alabama player and Baltimore Ravens player. So, yeah, other than that, that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you later. You all be safe. Thank you for watching Coach One Sports. Yours truly, Coach Kevin Bull Jones. We'll see you later.